In a quiet valley surrounded by misty green hills, there was a small village built beside a winding river. Every morning, before the sun rose above the mountains, the river moved gently through the valley. It watered the rice fields, carried wooden boats, fed the fish, and sang softly against the stones. The villagers called it their blessing. But one summer, the villagers made a mistake so strange, they almost destroyed the very river they were trying to save. The rain stopped coming. At first, no one worried. A few dry days were normal. But the dry days became weeks. The weeks became months. Slowly, the river began to shrink. The water grew shallow. Stones appeared along the riverbed. The fish disappeared into the muddy depths. And the gentle voice of the river became almost silent. Fear entered the village quietly. What if the river dies? What if the crops fail? What if we lose everything? Then one morning, the villagers gathered at the riverbank with shovels, ropes, wooden boards, and desperate eyes. They decided the river was moving too slowly, so they tried to make it obey. They dug trenches through the earth, built barriers across the current, pulled mud from the riverbed with their bare hands. Some even shouted at the water, "Move faster! Flow this way! Hurry!" As if fear could command water to obey. But something strange happened. The harder they tried to force the river, the weaker it became. The water turned darker. The current slowed even more. The river became muddy and tired-looking, as if it had forgotten its own path. The villagers thought they were helping, but day after day they were hurting the very thing they loved. Among them lived an old gardener. His house stood near a willow tree at the river's edge. He had known that river since childhood. He knew when it was dying and when it simply needed rest. But while the villagers fought with the water, the old gardener did something that made everyone angry. He simply sat beneath the willow tree, watching, listening, breathing. One man shouted, "Why are you just sitting there?" Another cried, "If you care about this village, help us force the river back." The old gardener looked at the muddy water and said softly, "A river loses its clarity the moment you try to control it." The villagers laughed bitterly, but the old man did not argue, because wisdom rarely needs to shout. Days passed. The villagers worked harder, but the river only grew more clouded, and slowly the people began changing too. Neighbors blamed neighbors. Families argued over small things. Children stopped playing near the shore because the adults were always shouting. The drought had dried the land, but fear was drying their hearts. One evening, a young boy came to the old gardener. "Grandfather," the boy asked, "why won't the river listen to us?" The old gardener dipped his hand into the slow-moving water. Then he asked, "Have you ever seen a river struggle to reach the ocean?" The boy thought for a moment. "No." The old man nodded. "Exactly. The river reaches the ocean because it flows, not because it fights." The boy looked at the muddy water. "But if we stop trying, won't it disappear?" The old gardener smiled gently. "Doing nothing is not the same as trusting." Then he pointed to the riverbed. "Look closely." The boy leaned forward. For the first time, he noticed something. The villagers had stirred so much mud that the water could no longer see its own path. The old gardener whispered, "Sometimes the river does not need more force. Sometimes it only needs time for the mud to settle." The next morning, before sunrise, the boy returned to the riverbank. He did not shout. He did not dig. He simply stood near the water and watched. A few villagers laughed. "What are you doing?" The boy answered, "I am letting the water find its way." By afternoon, a few tired villagers stopped digging. The next day, more followed. For the first time in many weeks, the riverbank became quiet. No shouting, no digging, no forcing. Only the sound of slow water moving over stone. And then, something began to happen. The mud settled. The water became clearer. The river did not become full overnight, but it began to look alive again. Small fish returned near the edges. The current found its old curves. The river remembered its path. Several days later, clouds gathered above the mountains, At dusk, the rain finally came. Not violently, not dramatically, just softly, drop by drop. The rain touched the dry fields, the rooftops, and the river. Slowly, the water began to rise. The river filled its banks again. The current strengthened. The fields drank deeply. And the village stood in silence, watching what they had tried so hard to force happen naturally. One man turned to the old gardener and asked, "So the river never needed us?" The old gardener shook his head. "The river needed your care, but not your fear." Then he said, "There is a difference between helping life and trying to control it. And perhaps human life is the same. Many people force love before trust is ready. They force healing before the wound has been felt. They force success before their roots are deep enough. They force answers from a future that is still forming. And the more they force, the muddier their soul becomes." Have you ever been there? Trying to fix everything at once, trying to heal faster, trying to arrive sooner, trying to prove that you are not falling behind. But sometimes the thing you call delay is actually life protecting your peace. Sometimes the silence is not punishment. It is the mud settling. The sunrise never rushes. The moon never apologizes for changing shape. The ocean never begs the river to arrive faster. And the river never fights its way to the sea. It simply keeps flowing, slowly, patiently, faithfully. That is why peace cannot be rushed. Peace is not something you chase until you collapse. Peace is what returns when you stop wrestling with everything you cannot control. So if your heart feels tired tonight, pause. You do not need to solve your whole future today. Some things heal slowly. Some paths open naturally. Some rivers only become clear when we stop stirring the water. Thank you for walking beside the river with Soul Flora today. If this story brought a little calm to your heart, share it with someone who may be silently carrying too much. And before you leave, write this not for the algorithm, but as a quiet promise to your own heart. I trust the timing of my river. Because your life is not late. Your soul is simply learning how to flow. Soul Flora, rooted in wisdom, growing in grace.